welcome to White Line Fever Live. And the people on YouTube, they point at the bottom of the screen and they say like and subscribe. And if you're listening on the podcast, welcome back. And here to discuss his first ever solo album, I think that's correct, Ronnie Romero. Ronnie, how are you?
Hello, fine. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Mate, thanks so much for coming on. Now, the title, Too Many Lies, Too Many Masters.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the research I did, for this interview, because there's a lot to delve into, actually. But the Too Many Masters thing, I guess some people might take really literally and say, oh, well, that's because he's in a bunch of bands. But it's not that literal, is it? That part of the title.
Oh, we could. Yes, at the end, music is a universal message, so anybody can take it like as much as they want it. Yes. But yeah, for me, is the album title is a kind of a resume of my career the last 10 years in many ways. Not only because I play with great musicians through the years, from Richie Blackmore, Michael Schenker, Adrian Vandenberg, and many others that I would call masters. But also for me is a kind of a release statement of everything that was happening to me the last few years, especially in the social media, because I was having some personal issues were aired on the social for some people. And, there was too much people around, telling me what to do or what not to do. That's why I call them masters, because they know a lot about my life. And they know a lot of how I should do my own stuff. That's why I say there is too many masters around.
Yeah. Now you moved from Chile to Madrid in 2009. Is that right? 2009. Yep. And I would have thought that when you made the move, the thing you would be not apprehensive about, but is all these amazing musicians, like you mentioned, Richie Blackmore, Adrian Vandenberg, and Michael Schenker, that you were going to be dealing with. However, it seems that what really surprised you was not the musicians, but their fans and the way their fans behave on social media. Is that right? Is that been the biggest shock to you since?
Yeah, mostly because obviously you have this kind of a fan base of all those bands I was playing with. And obviously everybody has an opinion on everything, which is okay for me. I mean, I really learned how to deal with that. But at that time, at the beginning, you need to think that I was just a normal guy from South America coming to Europe to try to make a living, not even on the music. I was not interested to make music at that time. I mean, I was having, like, let's say, a musical life, because I was born and I grew up in a family of musicians, and I used to have my bands when I was in school and in the university and all that kind of stuff. But I was not interested to form a band and to have a music career in Europe. I was just moving to have a better chance that normally South American guy have in the continent. So yeah, it is really hard to deal at some point how people is so invasive on your private life. It's very invasive because the people, they think that they can say whatever they want to say about you without knowing you, which is pretty interesting. But sometimes musicians, they do that also. I'm pretty disappointed of a couple of my big heroes because of that.
No, I've always found over the years that the biggest, now not so much now with social media because you get some real trolls, but before social media, I always found the biggest critics of musicians were other musicians.
Yeah,
they were more fierce than journalists or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the other musicians, they were the only to have the platform to say something on the interviews and all the stuff. Now everybody has that platform, so everybody can say anything. But still, I feel very disappointed in how some certain legendary musicians, they behave on the social. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, as far as like who's the new guy, and why are they calling themselves that name when they've only got X members, and you kind of do expect to hear that from some fans, but not so much, I guess, touring musicians.
Yeah, especially from people who has a extensive career. like 40, 50 years of career, and then suddenly they feel, I don't know, I guess probably it's jealousy, maybe, I don't know why. Anyways, but yeah, I was very disappointed of one of my favorite singers. He brings kind of a war into the table with me because of the Rainbow Reunion, and I found that very, I don't know, I think it was not necessary in any way. But then suddenly, everything escalated in a more complicated stuff, and then at the end, this guy, he was talking on the social about my personal life, which I think is not correct, so I would say, yeah, sometimes the social media is very dangerous.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna have to look that up afterwards to see. But let's listen to that. We're back with Ronnie Romero. Welcome back, everyone who's listening, and for those watching, thanks for not turning us off. Now, you mentioned we're talking about the new album, Too Many Lies, Too Many Masters, and you also mentioned that it's informed by your recent experiences, which have been quite traumatic, and they kind of are on the public record. Obviously, no pun intended. They're on a public record, which you just put out. But how are things on the improve, Ronnie? As far as like you said, you had a child that you haven't seen in 2 years, which is obviously very rough. And I'm sure everyone's heart goes
more
out
than
to
2
you.
years. Yeah,
More than 2 years. You did say in an interview I saw last week that things were about to be remedied in some way. Is that happened?
Hopefully very soon, because this claim that his mother did 2 years ago to try to avoid the communication between us, that was the only intention. It was disclaimed already on the court. So hopefully I'm gonna have the chance to at least to talk by phone with them. We used to at the beginning, when everything started, we used to talk by Skype, but now he's not allowed to use the phone anymore. Guess why? And but yeah, I'm just waiting. Time will tell.
You wrote a song especially for him, and you even changed the style of the music you would normally write because it was music that he is into. I think he said he's into Imagine Dragons and bands like that. Do you know if he's heard the song? Can he send up smoke signals or Morse code? Or can you get any?
I have no idea. I have no idea because I don't have any communication with him. I mean, I'm not allowed to call his mother. I'm not allowed to text his mother to see how is it going. So the only way was to talk directly to him to his cell phone. He's 10 years old, so he got a phone, and he put a Skype to talk to me. But suddenly, he just disappeared from Skype also. Which is nonsense. But at some point, you're gonna listen, and I think you're gonna like it because, as you mentioned, it's a song that I wrote especially for him, changing the style because I know he's a huge fan of more kind of a pop-oriented bands. Like, I mean, he was a huge fan of Bruno Mars and then Imagine Dragons and that kind of stuff, Coldplay, and so I thought if you want to write a song of to somebody, to a beloved one, it must be something that they would like to listen
in their language, I guess. Yeah.
Well, no, that's okay because he talks English very well, and is how they call it now. It's super smart. He has high capacities. It's called now. High capacities. He's a special school, and he's very smart. And he started to talk English when he was 3 years old, and he started to write and to read when he was 2 years old. So yeah, he talks English perfectly. So I think you're gonna get the lyrics.
Yeah. Now you mentioned in the last part of the interview about jealousy from people and maybe older singers. You, in a rock band, I guess the people who kind of wear out quickest are the drummers and the singers, and and you're like the prettiest girl in the room when it comes to, I mean, as far as like if you're looking for a singer, here's a guy who can still do his chops and he doesn't have to learn that style of music. He's already into it. I mean, when did this dawn on you that this is a huge opportunity for you, in your career, that you were a certain type of singer that was needed because older singers were, you talked about capacity, older singers were maybe losing their capacity a bit. When did it first dawn on you that this was an opportunity for you?
Well, actually, since I started to work with Richie, I would say with Richie Blackmore, because he was trying. I felt at that time he was trying to teach me how to deal with the business. You know, he was very interested on teaching me certain things and give me a lot of advices. So I thought and I felt at that time already that okay, this is the beginning of something. You know.
Yeah.
This is not going to end with the rainbow shows. It's something that I can develop, and luckily from rainbow, there's a lot of things coming after, like Schenker and Vandenberg and many others. So yeah, I was always in my mind since I started this, let's say, this professional part of my career. Like playing with big audiences and big stages and all this stuff. So I was always there.
Yeah. And mate, I was fascinated to hear that some people who want to work with you, they'll get on a Zoom call like this, and like me going in with my hardest question first as a reporter, they go in with, how much do you want? They start with that. And you just go, oh, if that's the way you want to start, I don't want to work with you. That's super weird, isn't it? Does that happen often?
Well, actually, it's a little bit different, but obviously, when you get to that point of the conversation, that's the crucial moment,
Yeah.
Because for me, for example, since I joined Rainbow and then I started to do a lot of things with very, renowned musicians, I had this kind of advantage of things that were coming to offer me, because I can choose. I can choose what to do, which is an advantage in the way that if you're not having this previous background with great musicians, to just get what you can. So what I'm doing all the time is when somebody coming with an offer or wanted to work with me, it's like, okay, let me listen to music. If I like it, we can start to talk, So the first thing is to send me the music they want me to sing. And I need a couple of weeks to listen to songs, and in the car or in my house or where I'm traveling on the headphones. And then if I like it, it really tells me something, I can continue with the conversation.
Yeah.
But it happens to me a couple of times that I was pretty cool with the music and I was talking with the guys, and I really wanted to have this conversation, good vibe, and create and develop a relationship. And then suddenly when we need to talk about money, these people just disappear. Which is funny.
They expect you to work for free, or
exactly.
Yeah, because I was talking to Ripper Owen, says that he's got a sliding scale depending on what country they're from. So if they're from like America or England or Canada or New Zealand, he charges them this much. And if they're from Eastern Europe or South America,
that would be a way to do it. But for me, the most important thing is, I am very honest with people. So the first thing I say is, listen, I know you want to work with me. I like the music, but I'm expensive. That's the first thing. So we have everything clear. And why I'm expensive? Obviously, first of all, because I'm good. Not because I'm saying that I'm good, because a lot of people say that I'm good. And I work with this guy and this guy and this other guy. And then, I ask, how is your budget? So we can talk about it. I'm not that kind of guy that he asked for example, I asked for 5,000 euros for a song. And then the guy say, but I have 4,000. Oh, no, I can do it for 4,000. It's always to talk. I did records for free also.
Yeah.
Just, because I liked it, the music, and because I saw some potential on the record, and I try to help this guy to get a record deal. And that's it, sometimes you need to do that also because I had that opportunity. That. So when you can help somebody, I think it's better than to get money, go to the studio and send the tracks back. It's more worth it for me. So I can do that also.
Okay, let's have another. We're back, third part of our interview with Ronnie Romero. I want to thank him for his time, and I want to thank you people for watching and listening. And I've actually got a pile of stuff. It's the last section of the interview. I've got a pile of stuff I want to ask you. But the one thing is interesting listening to your talk about working with, you know, Michael Schenker and Richie Blackmore, is that the legacy rock isn't coming back, right? So, you know, like it's very hard for, if you were to start a new band now and you to be really, really successful, or your band you got now with this album, the idea that you would in 5 years' time be headlining arenas it's hard to see, because rock isn't what it used to be. So do you sometimes, even though these guys are nice to you, do you sometimes see echoes that they come from another world? You know what I mean? They come from a world of excess, and they come from a world of opulence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was it like to encounter that for the first time? You know?
Yeah. Well, obviously, musicians nowadays, young musicians. I call myself young, but I'm 42. But anyway, I would say that I'm still young. We need to realize a lot of things, and then the first of all is what you say, that the music business is not the same anymore. And that's something that happens very often to me when the people say that I'm working I'm involved in too many things, too many projects and all this stuff. But I would say that this is the only way to make a living on music nowadays. You know, that's the only way. That's not other way. If any musicians you ask for is going to tell you the same. Because we are not in the 70s anymore. We're not in the 80s, where there was a lot of money around the bands, when you were getting a $1 million check for recording an album. You know, and but also I would say that it was great in the way that there was a bigger filter at that time, because only the real talented, successful musicians, they could make it. Nowadays, it's just anybody can be a musician, anybody can record an album at home with a laptop, and you know, anybody can release a video clip on YouTube. There is no money effort needed, you know. So there is a lot of more competition. So you need to be really, 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 really talented, or to bring something really different and special to be over all of that, you know. But you know, it's complicated. But I'm not gonna say that I would love to. I did a post actually the other day, because after 3 days of the release of my album, we got like 70,000 listenings on Spotify.
Wow.
Which probably will bring to me like €5. But I say, imagine to live still on the 70s. I will have like a double platinum album already in 3 days. Yeah. Which is really sad. But you need to live with that. That's the only way.
Now, I don't want to plant this idea in your head if you haven't thought of it yet, but obviously you've made a living out of, you know, singing rock, and you know, part of the opportunity comes from the fact that some of the singers have retired, or they can't sing like they used to anymore. And I wonder, have you ever started to think in 20 years' time, when your voice starts to go, what are you going to fall back on? Hopefully you'll have just a big pile of money under the bed. And you go.
Yeah, hopefully. No, actually,
you obviously have to look after yourself, don't you? Your voice.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be. That's why also the image of let's say a rock star, it changed a lot through the years, because we are not the kind of workers we can just spend the money and throw the money away anymore. You know, we need to be smart, and you need to invest some money in some things, and you need to have your own stuff as soon as possible, and then obviously be smart and keeping the money to have a life after. Obviously, you need to be, and not only because you get old in 20, 30 years, the music business is a really hard place. So you never know, probably even tomorrow or next year, nobody gonna listen to your music. So but maybe in a year, nobody gonna call me again to record an album. So you know, you need to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
So
I had two more things here. The one thing is, you're a huge proponent for people having to register to open social media account. That you should have to show your ID. I saw an interview. You shouldn't be able to just be anonymous online. You know. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Well, obviously that will be good in the way that obviously you know who you're talking to. which is probably the most fair communication for a musician, because probably 90% of messages you get are from people you never gonna know who they are. But also that will be something. It should be something that it should come from people themselves. If I'm gonna have an opinion of something, I want to have my name on my opinion. That's the way how society behaves nowadays. We're cowards. We're cowards, and it's going to be like that all the time. Because we don't like to be exposed of to be wrong. The most of the times, that's why the most of the people, they comment with anonymous accounts. But I guess at some point that's going to happen. I heard today on the news that even Facebook is going to start to charge like a fee to use the social, like 10 euros per month or something like that.
Really? Ooh, yeah. That worries me.
I don't have
Twitter. I don't know about Twitter. If they start charging, I think I'll just
so very soon it's going to be even an ID needed. Who knows?
Yeah. And the last thing is, and I thought maybe some viewers might benefit from this, is that it's also well documented you went through a tough time, and I guess at the end of COVID, and it informed the writing of this record, I'm sure. And I just wonder like how you got through it, and I guess that sort of advice can help people who maybe do, as you said, consider self-harm because you're down and because people are you've got personal stuff going on, and then you've got people trolling you on social media and stuff like that. So how did you get through it, and what advice would you give someone who's kind of feeling the same way?
Yeah, just to clarify, because I remember that Blabbermouth, they got it wrong, obviously. No way. They post something like I was tempted to commit suicide twice because of the criticism. That was totally not true. I tried to commit suicide twice because of the situation I was living with my kid. I was not allowed to see him. I was not allowed to talk to him. And at that time, my ex-wife, she aired on every paper work, every TV news, and every magazine, and everywhere that I threatened her to death. So, which was not true. But I got a public judgment because of that. And people was calling me criminal. People was calling me that I should be in jail. And at that time, I was not allowed to talk to my kid. I was missing him, and it was really hard time for me, because at the end we are just normal people. We are humans, and we have feelings. And it's not great to wake up in the morning and to have 100, 200, 300 comments on your socials telling you that you are a criminal, they should be in jail. Yeah. And that's what that was the reason. And I tried to commit suicide twice. Luckily, my wife, she was with me at that time, and she saved me twice. And everything, it was easier to carry and easier to go through the love that you have around you. You need to any little grain of love that you can hang to go through that situations, you need to do it. You need to think on the others, because obviously to commit suicide is a very selfish feeling, because you say I'm gonna end with my life and my problem is gonna go away. But you need to think on the others. And I thought of my wife, I thought of my kid, and I thought of my friends, and that was the only way to go through.
The other thing I think they might have got wrong is that they said that you considered it, not tried it. I wasn't aware that you actually...
I tried twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And do you think about that much now? I mean, like...
No, not really. That's something that it was totally erased from my head. Because of the love of the people who is around me.
Yeah.
My wife, the first, she was going through all of this with me. She went to hell with me, and then she saved me. And then obviously thinking about that, at some point I'm gonna have the chance to restore the relationship with my kid, and that's the only thing that I have in mind nowadays. So
yeah. Well, it's inspirational, really, in a that you got through it. And I guess I didn't realize how close it came. I read a story that said you considered it. So I think we're all very happy that you're here. And I think everyone, as you know how popular the record is already, because you check the streams, 70,000 streams. You've got a platinum computer, platinum Spotify. So
you just need to try to be happy with the little things, at the end. It's the only that matters. It's there is no reason to be happy at the end. I went through many things since I was a kid, because I was born in a very poor family. I remember that my family house has no floor. There was only the ground. They got nothing to eat sometimes, and that kind of stuff. And I went through, and then all this personal situation happens, and I try to commit suicide, and but here I am, and I have good things around me. I have my wife, I have the love of my wife. I have my dogs. I have my house. We have a good record. We have shows next year. I have good friends around me, even in the band. So there is no reason to think in nothing but happiness.
Yeah, and the number of people you hear from who are negative is a tiny percentage of the number who know.
I don't care anymore. Even if it's the 99%, I don't care anymore. I'm
Really?
very happy with my life right now, and nothing and nobody gonna change that.